What's going on, y'all? My name is Joltage, and today I'm going to be bringing you my series versus Jeran, which is weird because that's my little brother's name. Not spelled that way, but pronounced how I just did. But anyway, for the LC Championships, the Invitational, the Invite Tour, it's going by many names. So this is round two, and we are in the losers bracket. So at the end of the series, one of us will be out of this tour, and I'd really prefer if it wasn't me. Anyway, heading into the series, I honestly have no idea who Jeran is. No offense to him. He's not. He's not an LC regular. And he's just not an LC regular. And he qualified through the LC OMs tour, which took place during the early fall, late summer, early fall era is where I think that took place, or just during the summer in general. I'm not quite sure. It was a long time ago, but that's where he qualified from. So I assume he's just some tours room player. It's who I assume a lot of people who perform well in LC that I don't know are. And honestly, really didn't want to play any tours players or ladder heroes this tour, mainly because they generally have really, really boring teams, and I just really don't like playing against them. But that's what we were drawn with, so it is what it is. Thankfully, Jeran didn't bring super boring teams. He's brought an Ella kid not on a Webs team, which is something you don't see a whole lot. Actually, this team looks like it could be a Webs team if you just replace Dwebble with Surskit. It looks like a perfectly normal Webs team, just without a Volt Switch immunity. But anyway, in the first game, he has his HO team that honestly could be Webs, but it's not because there's no Surskit. But with lead bug and then just threats, fast threats. And I brought a water spam team that I built recently. I've said in my other videos that I'm in a bit of a slump, but I thought I'd try this one out. Game one was going to be my best chance to try out a new team, because I honestly just need to get comfortable with other teams. So game one was my best shot at that, so that's what I went with. But it's built around the core of SD Fish and HP Fire All Out Attacker Skrelp. I like Skrelp shiny sprite, so I made it shiny. But HP Fire is to lure Ferroseed, which Courtfish likes having removed, and I thought the core would be kind of cool. Then the rest of the team is pretty standard. We've got standard Pumpkaboo, who I don't use super often, but is a solid ghost type. We've got CM Spritzy to give me another win con. On the team, we've got a slow, bulky SD Drober, which I'm not really liking. I thought it'd be kind of cool, though. It's got SD Spin, Rock Slide, and EQ. And then we've got Berry Juice, Rocks Archon. I don't typically run a Berry Juice Archon, especially when I'm running rocks on it. But I decided I wanted the Flying Stab, so went with the Berry Juice version. Anyway, let's hop right into this one. And I expected him to lead Dwebble, so I led Drober, but he ended up leading Mienfoo. Mienfoo's a fair play. I expected either a U-turn or a knockoff there, so I just decided to go for an Earthquake. If I had rocks, I would have gone for them there, but I didn't. On this turn, I decided to go out to my Spritzy. That was not a good play because, it was an okay play out because he could have Drain Punched, and Drain Punch may have taken me out. I wasn't really sure at that time, but I didn't want my Drober taking all that damage, either way, so I went out to Spritzy there on the potential Drain Punch, but he U-turns out into Ghastly. Ghastly's super threatening, but I cannot stay in with my Spritzy to break the thing, so I have to go out to Scrope as he sets up a substitute, and then he fires off a Shadow Ball and does the and looks like it's going to be an easy 2-hit KO. I Scald to break the sub, but he low rolls this turn. He low rolls the his next Shadow Ball, like absolute min roll, and Scrope's able to survive on 1 HP and take out the Ghastly, so that's great that Scrope was able to do that. Anyway, he goes out into his Dwebble and just clicks Rock Blast. I decided to just click Scald. Scrope wasn't really doing anything, especially if he got up hazards at that point, so felt like that was the fair play. I go out to my Drover here and click the SD in case he wanted to set up his in case he wanted to set up any hazards, but he instead goes to his Foo, and I don't want my Drover taking Drain Punch, so I go into Spritzy here. He could have knocked off, but he decided not to, and here he U-turns out of my Spritzy into his Dwebble as I fire off a Moonblast. Gets a crit, but either way it was putting Dwebble into Berry Juice range, so it got in for free. I decided to go out to my Drover here to spin away any rocks that came in as he brings in his Abra. I've never, ever seen anyone bring in their Abra on something. Like, ever. So, Abra takes damage, and the potential Focus Sash is gone. I think that is fantastic, but I don't have anything that wants to stay in on this Abra. So, I mean, didn't want Drobo to stay on this Abra, so I switched to my Pumpkaboo. Pumpkaboo takes the Psychic pretty well. And here, I thought about Wisping, but I also felt like he would go into his Dwebble or his Tortuga here, so I decided to Bullet Seed. If I would have Wisped, Mienfoo would have been really neutered, and that would have helped me out a lot during the game. I'm really not, looking back on this, I'm really not liking my play in this game too much, but I can't stay in here, and I have to go to Spritzy to take this knockoff. I didn't want anything else taking the knockoff. Archin wasn't an option, I guess, but Foo's going to be able to U-turn out on my Spritzy as I'm just going to go for the Moonblast. I probably should have wished there, I think, because Spritzy's getting real low at this point, and I'm not liking it, but Dwebble sets up his rocks as I go Drober. I just decide to EQ here, in case he wanted to stay in, and he U-turns out on my Drover and gets a crit. I don't think it mattered too much though, as I just decide to Rapid Spin there, not expecting him to want to stay to save his Dwebble for really anything, because I don't really think it does that much anymore. I just go for the Rapid Spin here in case he wanted to set up more hazards, but he ended up not wanting to do that and just went into his Foo, who gets to U-turn out. Now his Foo's back up at full, and he has an Elekid. Elekid's really annoying. My electric immunity is gone, and it like mutilates 2 of my 4 remaining mons. Luckily, I have a Pumpkaboo who does not get mutilated by this Elekid. I expect the Volt Switch here, so I'm going to go for the Will-O-Wisp with its nice cool blue fire animation I really like, and incoming Foo, so I'm thinking yes, but I miss, and I swear I cannot hit Will-O-Wisps to save my life in Tour Series. It's really annoying, but I miss, and that's, again, really annoying, because, I mean, this Foo should be neutered, but it's not. Here I go out to my Archon to eat an expected knockoff, but he instead decides to U-turn out. Fair play on his part, as now Elekid's back in, and I go to Spritzy to sack it to the Volt Switch, as he's gonna get I'm gonna get the initiative on what I want to send in. He goes into Mienfoo, so I go into Corpfish, because at this point I was rattled. after the Willow missed, I was really rattled, and I was just like, fuck it. The only way I'm winning this game is by just muscling through. So I decided to set up an SD on this Mienfoo as it knocks off, and then Drain Punches. Drain Punch doesn't take out my Courtfish as I survive on 1 HP here. And, yeah. So I'm at 1 HP. I decided to go for the Aqua Jet, expecting him to maybe just Aqua Jet, but he smashes, and then Aqua Jet's the next turn. Fair play. So his Tortuga's looking like it's going to win here. All it has to do is hit his Stone Edge. But he misses the Stone Edge, and suddenly I have life again, because Pumpkaboo's Bullet Seed's going to be able to easily take out this Tortuga. And he goes into Dwebble. I was really predicting a knockoff here. Like, really predicting a knockoff here. But I guess his Dwebble doesn't have knockoff, because it goes for Rock Blast. And my Archon's Berry Juice pops. And I'm in Defeatist range as he goes to Abra on my Acrobatics, which even through Defeatist takes out Abra. I mean, Abra's not known for his bulk, so that's to be expected. As Elekid comes in, I can't switch in my Pumpkaboo because he's going for the Volt Switch anyway. And that's just going to get Dwebble in for free. My only... because I still thought he had knockoff, my only real hope here is to go for the Shadow Sneak and hope it kills. It doesn't. He lives on 1 HP as he goes for the Rock Blast, which really proves that he doesn't have knockoff. Gets a 3-hitter off on me, but I can't synthesis up or anything, so Elekid is going to be able to end the game for him, and I lose the first game. And I'll be honest, I was really annoyed that I lost. I got rattled during this game, and honestly just really didn't feel like playing anymore. Just didn't feel like playing, and I was really annoyed because I want to do well in this tour, and I was gonna, and it was in very real danger of losing. So yeah, I was really annoyed, but thankfully I was able to stall the second game from happening because the Madoka Fitzy SPL game was about to be on, and I wanted to record that, so hopped into that and recorded that. You guys should go watch that. I put that video up already. It was a pretty good battle, I thought. And then told him we would play the rest of the series after that game. So that game happens, and during that game, I'm in my head, I'm like, all right, I'm going to my old faithful reliable teams in Aberfood and Day at the Beach from here on out. So I decide I'm going with Aberfood. It is by far the team I've used the most, just period. And I am super comfortable playing with this team, and yeah, it's not the greatest team in the world. Obviously, it's called Aberfood. It's super weak to Abra. Goth is also something it's weak to, though I find Goth more easily played around than Abra, simply because Abra is a little cunt with Focus Sash. Excuse my language, I don't normally say that, but I really dislike Abra a lot. Not quite shrug levels, but quite a lot. But anyway, so I decided to go with Aberfood. This is RMT'd, by the way. It's an older RMT, but it's pretty much the same. I used to have a Chincho instead of this Magnemite. Magnemite helps my Fletch matchup because it's just a sturdier Fletch, though Overheat Fletch is a bitch and kind of very easily wins because my only other Fletch check is Snubble. But anyway, into the team, we've got Eevee, Thief, Snubble. I think Eevee Thief is dope as hell because Snubble's getting knocked off pretty much every game anyway. No reason to run Berry Juice IMO. Eevee is definitely the best item on Snubble, in my opinion. Um, and no one expects the thief afterwards, so you can just thieve some shit. Um, but yeah, we're just standard. The standard spread beyond that. I mean, standard stats beyond that. I mean, move sets. I mean, spread is standard as well. I'm not the attacking one. I'm the defensive one, which is the better spread IMO. Anyway, with Play Rough and Earthquake, Fire Punch would be useful on this team because Phariseed's a bit of a bitch, but I don't have it. I have Earthquake instead. And then we've got my standard Krogunk, which is just the Mix Gunk set with Sucker Punch over Drain Punch. This leaves me weaker to stuff like Porygon and Phariseed, but it allows me to surprise Abra and get a large chunk off on Goth, perhaps killing weakened Goth, if I get the chance to weaken it. We've got Scarf Reckless Foo. I love Scarf Reckless Foo, and I think more people should run it. Reckless High Jump Kick hits so hard. After you knock off Fungus and Spritzy, you can, like, I know you can 2-hit KO Fungus after rocks, and I'm pretty sure you come damn close to doing so after rocks on Spritzy with the Reckless High Jump Kick. If not, just do it altogether. But yeah, we've got Sub-Disable Ghastly. I really like Sub-Disable Ghastly. It's really cool. I don't find many opportunities to fit Ghastly on my teams, but I really like it on this team. Berry Juice, because more subs to so I can set up more subs throughout the game. And yeah, we've got Indoor BJ Mag. That's kind of fallen out of favor in the current meta, and I agree that it's a bit worse, but it does help my Abra matchup as well as my Fletch matchup, so long as the Fletch isn't overheat and I don't lose a speed tie. And then we've got Rock's Spin, Rock Tomb Drober. Rock Tomb, I think, is a really cool move on Drober for lowering speed, because, you know, speed is very important. But on his team, we've got Scraggy, who's always a cool mon to see, though I have a Snubble and a Scarfoo to I have a Snubble to check it like really well, and a Scarfoo if he gets if for some whatever reason Snubble is out of commission. And he has freaking Gothita, who can very easily trap my Krogunk. Good thing for me is Krogunk's not really checking that much. This game, it can check Scraggy if it's weakened and stuff, and prevents and is a deterrent to Scald, but it's not doing that much this game, so I'm not super worried about the Goth. And he's got Larvesta. Larvesta is his primary fighting resist. I wouldn't call Goth a fighting resist, though it does live Reckless High Jump Kick from full. Primary fighting resist, though I have Stone Edge on my Foo, so hoping to use that to my advantage. Then he's got Archon. Expect a just BJ Archon here. Everybody likes BJ Archon. Pharaoh Seed's probably just standard rocks. Knockoff Bullet Seed, T-Wave. That's what I'm thinking. And then we've got a Chincho who could be Scarfed, but I doubt he'd run dual Scarfer with Goth and Chincho, so it's probably more likely the Berry Juice set. But anyway, let's hop into it. I always lead Foo with this team, as I do here. I'm really turn one, he got Larvesta in, and I'm really hoping he doesn't see the Stone Edge coming, though. If he so I really want to go for the Stone Edge and just eliminate this Larvesta immediately, though looking back on after I'd already clicked it, I realized that's not really a good play, because then Goth comes in and traps my Foo, who is actually the primary win con of this team, is to clean up late game with my Foo. So like the Stone Edge would not have been a good, was actually not a good play, but I go for it anyway, as he goes into Ferroseed, predicting the Stone Edge, so that's a fair move on his part, and I decide to switch out. I don't want my Mienfoo getting T-waved, and Ferroseed's really a bitch for this team to switch into. I don't want my Mienfoo getting T-waved and it couldn't hit the Ferroseed anymore anyway. I don't want my Snubble loses to it. It doesn't have like fire move. Drillbur doesn't want to, can absorb the T-wave but doesn't want to eat a Bullet Seed. Magnemite doesn't hit it very well because I've got Dual Stab, and then Ghastly also doesn't want to eat a T-wave, and Knockoff's also annoying. So I decided to go out to Krogunk to eat this T-wave, and I really want this Ferroseed knocked off, so I'm just going to go for the knockoff here as he sends out his Archon. Knockoff does a lot to this Archon, I thought, so enough to where I can Vacuum Wave it to put in Defeatus, which is what I decide to do this next turn. Defeatus, typically Berry Juiced Archon do not run Roost, so I felt like putting it in Defeatus was going to be very useful, as it's not going to be hitting anywhere near as hard as it would otherwise. As it goes to the Rock Tomb, perhaps over predicting me to go out into something else. But I go out into Drillbur here, deciding I want my rocks, as he goes for the Acro. Acro still does a lot, but nowhere near as much as it would had I not gotten that damage off. But I decided to go for the Rock Tomb here, wanting to take out the Archon, but as he switches into his Gothita, Gothita's speed being lowered means that my Drillbur will outspeed this next turn, and I could kill the Gothita, which I try to do. Not the best play. Could have set up rocks there, and I probably should have set up rocks there, as he goes back into his Archon. I'm game for this speed tie, so I go for the Rock Tomb again, and I hit the Ferroseed. Drillbur doesn't want any Ferroseed, but I felt pretty safe in going for the rocks here because I wanted these rocks up. It really neuters Larvesta's ability to check my Mienfoo, as well as Archon is really low and will be in Vacuum Wave range following a switch into rocks. As he sets up his own rocks here, I decide to then go out to my Krogunk. My Krogunk is my designated Ferroseed switching on the Bullet Seed here, and Krogunk's taken no damage from this Bullet Seed. He goes for the knockoff, as I decide to do the same. In situations like these, I really wish I had Drain Punch, but I don't. So I just decide to go for the Vacuum Wave, as he switches out into his Chinchou, perhaps predicting the Drain Punch. Here, I know he's not going to go for the Scald. I have a Krogunk in here, so I'm going to go for the Drillbur play. Drillbur outspeeds standard Chinchou, as I determine this to be, though it could be Scarf, but either way, even if it was Scarf, I was pretty okay with going into my Drillbur here, because I felt like he would Volt Switch if he was Scarf. As he goes for the Hidden Power Ground there, and I go for the Earthquake, hoping he'll stay in, as he goes into his Archon. Here I win the tie. And am able to take out the Archon. The Acro would have killed me there, which would have been annoying for me, but I could have revenged next turn with my Krogunk. And Krogunk and Goth being chunked from taking that Rock Tomb earlier means Krogunk could actually take it out with a Sucker Punch, should that come down to it. But anyway, he decides to go out to his Goth and trap my Drillbur. Fair play to him on that one. And here I had a long think about what to do. I didn't want to go into Krogunk because there's potential that I just lose the Krogunk there. Goth is, and I didn't want, and Ghastly was obviously not the play, as it is faster than my Ghastly with the Scarf. So, my only options were really Mag, or Mag, Snubble, or Fu. Mag invited in Chincho too easily. I couldn't really hit it very much, very well. And Snubble I wanted healthy for the Scraggy. So I go out to my Scarfu and I do a quick calc to realize that Stone Edge, should I hit, will kill this Gothita, no matter what, which is dope, because then I don't have to risk the flame body. Otherwise I would just U-turn out, but I don't want my Fu getting burned. I still view my Fu as the primary win con, because after Larvesta's gone, I just click high jump kick and win. So I go for the Stone Edge as he again switches his Pharaoh Seed into my Fu. Again, a fair play on his part. And I go out into my Krogunk again, who, as I've said before, is the designated Pharaoh Seed switch in to eat another knockoff. I go for the Vacuum Wave, doesn't quite kill, but Pharaoh Seed can't come in on rocks again, as he decides to go out to a Chincho as I Vacuum Wave again. I really don't know why he switched out his Pharaoh Seed there, except for Iron Bar. I really don't understand that at all, actually. It can't come in on rocks again, and if you sack a Pokemon to Mienfoo going for high jump kick, and it dies on the hazard switch, Mienfoo doesn't take recoil. It doesn't take the HJK recoil. So I was really surprised it did that. I would have sacked it and I was in his shoes, but he lets his Chincho take the Vacuum Wave, and I just decide to get off any more damage with another Vacuum Wave. People keep in the chat. People were talking about how I'm really weak to Goth and Abra, and telling me to use Stunky. I really just don't like Stunky at all. Honedge is kind of cool, but Krogunk is the MVP of this team in so many ways, and I really don't want to switch out Krogunk for anything. So I just kind of have to play around my weaknesses with this team, which once you're comfortable with the team you can do with ease. But he goes for the Volt Switch there, and it goes into a Scraggy. I have a very safe switch in Snubble here, and I decide to, rather than go for the Play Rough, I decide to not risk the burn or anything and just go for the Earthquake. Earthquake does 26%, so I assume that's a weird showdown. I assume that's this next Earthquake would take out this Larvesta, but I also can't stay in here because, like I said, I want my Snubble to be able to handle this. So I decide, predicting the Morning Sun, and Larvesta also outspeeds myself, predicting the Morning Sun, I go out to my Ghastly here and click the click the Sludge Bomb. I thought about going for sub, but I thought there was also potential that a U-turns out there. Here he goes into his Gothita, and knowing that I'm not actually trapped, I decide to go out into my Magnemite to just take the Psychic that he potentially could go for. As he makes a double out into his Scraggy, I'm BJ Mag, but I'm 15 speed, so I guess I win a tie here as I Volt Switch out into my Snubble. He goes for the knockoff. Winning that tie didn't really matter at all. I actually would have rather had my Magnemite knocked off there. But I decided again to go for the Earthquake. Don't want the Larvesta. Larvesta would have died coming in on that move there. So Earthquake takes out the Chincho as I decide to go out into my Mag here, expecting a Morning Sun or a Will-O-Wisp or whatever, because Larvesta is pretty much his best way of winning this fight at this point, I think. Should put Larvesta in the thumbnail. Anyway, as he goes for the Flare Blitz and takes out my Mag, the crit didn't matter. But it also takes itself out, which is dope. Now Mienfu just wins. I just decided to go out to Mienfu here and make the safe U-turn play as Goth goes down, and Snubs v Scraggy. Snubs is going to win this every time. He goes for the high jump kick and misses. Not that it changed the outcome of the game. But yeah, so Aberfood once again doesn't let me down. It's not the greatest team, but it does work for whatever reason. Anyway, so I'm feeling pretty good now. Still a bit nervous. I really don't want to go out at this stage, and yeah, we're going into game 3, and I decided to bring Day at the Beach. I really need to get out of this team building slump because both of my teams, Aberfood and Day at the Beach, are RMT'd. You can easily just look up the sets and everything, and that's a big advantage that I'm potentially giving my opponents. But I am also really comfortable with these teams, and I like them a lot, so I've got to go with them. And here, initially, I'm not really liking this matchup. Fighting types actually are really annoying to this team because my fighting resist is Natu and Krogunk. Natu takes any knockoff from Full though, so that's a thing. But it doesn't mean it's super. It's a super nice matchup. I also it's not a good thing is he didn't bring Scraggy because Scraggy fucking mutilates my team. But and Diglett's always really annoying. My team's less weak to Diglett than it was in its initial conception when I had Arrow set on Omanite instead of Shelder. But yeah, and then I also in team preview I determined that Snivy's the win con because Leaf Storm, HP Fire, Leaf Storm. Snivy just destroys this man, so I decide Snivy is my win con here, and as soon as I can get it in on Diglett, I'm gonna just rip some holes in his team. His team is really weak to Snivy actually, especially the HP Fire Snivy, which I happen to be. But we're gonna start it off. I tend to lead Sandal with this team as he decides to lead Fu. Not most people are gonna. Most people just over predict when I've got Sandal in on Fu and go for the knockoff or the U-turn turn 1. So I usually just use this time to get up my rocks, and I do the same here as I win the tie, potential tie. Could be a slow Fu, and as he U-turns out and into his Diglett, and I'm thinking, all right, Diglett's able to take out my Sandal, but I mean we're starting the Snivy train really early. It was not expecting Diglett to make such an early appearance for me. I mean for him, but Snivy's in for free now. And I just decide to go right for the Leaf Storm, get my +2 as he goes into his Fair Seed, which is his Snivy counter. I want to avoid a T-Wave, so I go for the sub here as he does go for the T-Wave, and I'm feeling real good because I go for the HP Fire right here. Fair Seed's gone. Snivy's picked up 1 kill and it's getting another kill on this turn. I thought about clicking sub again on this U-turn, because standard Fu, my Snivy being only 15 speed is outsped by fast Fu, but instead I just decided I'm getting another kill this turn and clicked Leaf Storm. In hindsight I kind of wish I clicked sub because then I get a kill here and then he has to go out to his thing. Alright, but anyway, Snivy's got 2 kills and it is the most threatening thing to this man's team. So he brings out his Chincho. I was expecting him to bring out his Mienfu here, but he goes out to his Chincho, which tells me one thing and one thing only, that this thing is a Scarf Chincho, and the only thing that Scarf Chincho has to hit Snivy is Ice Beam. So I do a little calc, realize that Ice Beam does in fact kill my Snivy from here, and I don't want to deal with that. Good thing is I have pretty decent Ice Beam answers on this team. Shelter resists it, Magnemite resists it, and Krogunk's just a pretty bulky mon. So, yeah. And if this man doesn't go for Ice Beam, he's really way too ballsy. And because this Snivy is such a threat. So this Ice Beam play is pretty much the only thing he's going to do. I decided to go out to Krogunk just in case he was too ballsy on that turn. But he wasn't. He goes into his Krogunk as I decide to fire off a knockoff. Here on the incoming Mienfoo. Mienfoo's Eviolite is knocked off. That's always really nice. It gives me potential for a Shelter win later as well. I just decided to leave my Krogunk in. Here I determine I don't really need it to check Corphish because I have a Shelter and a Snivy still as viable Corphish checks. So I didn't really want to switch anything into this into this Foo. So I go for the Sludge Bomb there. It does enough to where Vacuum Wave is going to take it out next turn, as it does. And now Korgunk is getting trapped by Diglett this turn. That's fine. I calc to make sure to see which one does more, and Sucker Punch ended up doing more than Vacuum Wave here. So I go for the Sucker Punch on his Earthquake. I didn't expect him to expect the Sucker Punch there, so I felt pretty safe in doing so. But now Snivy's in again, and he goes for the Rock Slide this turn, popping my Berry Juice as I just set up another sub. If I wouldn't have subbed that turn, I would have killed this Diglett, and then Chincho's Ice Beam next turn wouldn't kill my Snivy. So I could have and then I could have won barring Leaf Storm misses, because Corphish can't set up on Snivy. But I went for the sub for whatever reason here. It doesn't end up mattering that much, but I could have won easier if I hadn't done that. But here I just decide, alright, he's sacking the Diglett, might as well kill here. And kill that, and Chincho, out comes Chincho. Chincho, he still has to go for the Ice Beam here, because if he doesn't, Snivy gets another kill. And yeah, so I decide to go out into Magnemite here. Magnemite I felt was the safest play possible, and yeah, my Magnemite has HP Ground and is analytic. I thought about clicking Volt Switch here, but I didn't want him to stay in for whatever reason, predicting me to predict him to switch out. So I just went for the safe Analytic HP Ground, as it's going to do a clean 45% to Corphish here. It was a bit of a misplay, I guess. I was really scared about as Corphish came in, my Magnemite was locked into HP Ground. So obviously I want my Magnemite to resist the Ice Beam that Chincho has to go for to kill my Snivy. So I switch out into my Shelter, who's really bulky and can take on Corphish, as he reveals to be Dragon Dance Corphish. Dragon Dance Corphish is real scary here, as he goes for the Crab Hammer. Does not 2-hit KO me, but I missed the Rock Blast, and I'm thinking, oh shit, please don't make me lose to this. He goes for another Crab Hammer, but I do hit this next Rock Blast and am able to take out the Corphish. And I've got this game in the bag at this point. I just decide to, because whatever he locks himself into, I can deal with. I just decide to get off some damage with the Ice Shard, as he goes for the Ice Beam, not wanting to lose to Snivy. So he loses to Magnemite instead, as he outspeeds because he is Scarf Cho, and my Magnemite's HP Ground is able to take out the Chincho, and I won the series, which was a huge weight off my shoulders. I really didn't want to go out there. But well played series to him. Was a really close one. I hope he sticks around in LC, because he's clearly a decent player, I think, and doesn't use that boring of teams. I mean, his last team was kind of boring, with his coolest mon being Gorpfish, but I mean, his game 2 team was also kind of boring. Coolest, he has like one cool mon per team, so I mean that's okay. Um, his first team was not boring at all though. But and anyway, I've been talking for a really long time, so I hope you've enjoyed. Wow, 40 minutes. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have gotten all the way to this point, please feel free to leave a like and comment and all that shit. Subscribe for more competitive LC content. My name is Joltage, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye.